There's an abundance of paranormal channels on YouTube. There are those who are real paranormal channels, those who entertain, and there are those ones that outright deceive their audiences by making claims that are not true. But I wanted to give some basic guidance for those who may be interested in the paranormal world and look towards YouTube for answers. I want you to know how to spot the differences between the real paranormal channels, the entertainment ones, and the outright deceivers. So if you're interested, this is the video for you. Spoiler alert, to start you off on the right track, a genuine interest in the paranormal isn't anything like what you see on most ghost hunting videos on YouTube. They are in no way indicative of what real investigations look like. If you want to know more about anything discussed here, I'll direct you to some links later in the video. Before you carry on watching this video though, ask yourself how much you're genuinely interested in the paranormal. I won't be discussing cryptids, aliens, or anything other than the paranormal investigations of the spirit kind, because that's where my experience lies. If you want to be entertained by constant activity, and yes, I'm doing air quotes there, that's fine. If you like watching people run around in feigned excitement because of words that come out of a phone app or an ITC device, if that's what entertains you, have at it. But if you want the truth, a flavour of what a real investigation is like, well, hardly anything happens. But when it does, it feeds your passion for the paranormal. It keeps you curious. Your views on your YouTube channel and how much you earn from your videos doesn't mean anything at all. It's something personal to you. There's a split second when you question it, and then you search for any possible explanation. You investigate because you want to know what you just experienced. You want to know what just occurred. More importantly, if you can't find a reason for what happened, you don't outright claim it to be paranormal, just something that you couldn't personally explain at the time, or maybe since. Debunking is a huge part of real investigations and a very important part if you're serious about the subject. To be clear, you don't always have to be there or at least visited the location yourself in order to debunk footage or audio on YouTube. It may help for certain information, but you can spot continuity issues, visual effects, the wrong location information, and or its history, editing mistakes without needing to be there. These things aren't rocket science. Hone your skills in spotting them. Although some YouTubers seem to think their audiences should be deaf and blind to what they're up to, you must educate yourself. I'd like to refute the claims often made by entertainment channels that debunkers don't believe in the paranormal. This is another lie they spin in order to cover their own tracks, claiming debunkers don't get activity because they don't believe in it. Most debunkers, although skeptical, aren't complete cynics. Some are more skeptical than others, but want their own experiences. Some have even had their own experiences already, myself included, and want to explore the subject more for their own answers. Some of us have done exactly that for many years. We're not a band of party poopers. We're level-headed, like-minded, and have a real passion for it because of those experiences that have left us with more questions than answers. It's deep-rooted, and at times there's a visceral reaction, but you're aware of those responses, and you have to tame them so common sense can do its job. If you want to start investigating yourself and want to research the history of a location, here's some advice. Researching the locations are done differently depending on your preferences. Some investigators like to know the history before they go. Some prefer to do the research after the investigations, so they're not influenced, connecting dots that aren't really there. But if you want to know the real history, this is where your own research is vital, even if you're not going too in depth. Old newspaper articles, old maps, genealogy sites, along with any certification you can find, are all very useful. They can either be found online, but use reputable sites, or at the local library or a historical society, depending on what you're looking for. Don't take images of certificates on the locations website as being accurate. Always find your own if you can. Be aware not to fully rely on any history of the location's claims without doing your own digging. Not all locations are equal in terms of accuracy, and some are even made up altogether in order to make money. Those types of locations don't care about the deceased, whose reputations are being slated, or even if the stories they're telling were actually associated with a particular building at all. To fabricate some or even the entire history does nothing from an investigator's viewpoint, but is very beneficial for the owner's bank account. Does this all sound like hard work? That's because it is. Going in depth can take weeks, months, and on the very rare occasion, years, depending on how much information you want. But if you want the real history, you have to put the work in. What I wouldn't do is go solely on the history other channels have put out. Some of the biggest YouTube channels who do paranormal content are lazy. They take whatever they've learned from other channels and whatever is on the location's websites and throw it out there into the ether, regurgitating the same stories, perpetuating the same misinformation, instead of correcting it. Never rely on others' photographic or video evidence, and yes, there's the air quotes there again. There are too many variables these days. They can be so easily manipulated. Don't allow yourself to be fooled. Trust only footage or images you've taken yourself. You know the conditions in which they were taken and can debunk or be excited about what you've captured. Just remember to be open to possible explanations from others who you share them with. Why do some YouTubers prefer to use a DR60? Mostly, they use them because they're flawed, but they don't care, because they know they'll get noises on there every time they do a recording, and they deceive their audiences by putting text on screen of what they say it says. This is known as audio pareidolia, where you're making words out of random noise. When they put words on the screen, your brain tells you that's what you're hearing. There are some great videos explaining why these devices shouldn't be used on investigations. I'd highly recommend Kenny Biddle's channel for great information on the DR60 and other gadgets. He also did a great interview with Crow of Judas about his history, about the DR60 and more. I will link them in the video description. On real investigations, recording devices, such as voice recorders, should never be handheld while in use. Even the slightest subconscious movement can contaminate the recording. It also is a huge bugbear of mine. It was one of the very first things I was taught around 20 years ago when I started investigating properly. It's basic good practice. Voice recorders should be placed on a stable surface and away from drafts or anywhere they'd be easily disturbed. That way, there is less chance of contaminating your audio. I can't say this enough. If there is activity in every video you watch, that should ring alarm bells if you're not watching for entertainment value only. If their activity comprises of devices spouting words and phrases, or voices coming through what is essentially a broken radio, or through self-proclaimed mediums who suddenly discovered their gift because it's the current trend, then that's entertainment and, in my opinion, should be labelled as such in the channel's description. There is enough information around these days for people with a genuine interest in the subject to educate themselves about the devices from reputable sources such as the Centre for Inquiry. Don't become one of the misguided. Do your own research. Never take apps or ITC devices seriously. I know they've been on television. I know they're in several YouTube channels, but none of them are proof of spirit communication. They're fine to use as an experiment, but any claims of real spirit communication is 100% fake. In fact, I'd advise anyone to steer well clear of ITC channels on YouTube altogether. Those making these bold claims are lying to you. Some are even caught faking their content by using pre-recorded snippets and editing them to sound relevant for the questions being asked. Audio pareidolia also plays a part in these channels. They put words on the screen so that your brain is telling you that's what's being said. These channels deceive their audiences and disrespect any family or friends of the deceased that may come across these videos. Before I finish this video, I'd like to direct you to my home tab if you're interested to find out more. There you will find a range of channels within the Real Paranormal community, and it truly is an amazing community. Just scroll down for links